What's up guys, Phantom here, back with episode 16 of my F1 2019 career mode as we're going to the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore for round 15.
It's time for us to settle down and the drivers below to get fired up. Once again, welcome to Singapore as we get ready for the green light and the start of what should be a fantastic qualifying session. It always looked like the kind of track that asks an awful lot of the rear tyres, such as the frequency of low-speed exits.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
As we start here late in Q1, as we are P18 and trying to get out of Q1, as we're coming off of our pole position in Monza, as we are not looking to get knocked out of Q1 after being so high up in Italy. As we come around the last double left-hander here, we are going to be P10, but at the end of the session we are going to be P16 and get knocked out by less than a tenth by Kvyat, as we went from 1st to 16th, so that was not good. But let's move on to the race.
As the sun sets over the South China Sea, the sport that never sleeps is alert and raring to go. Welcome, under the bright lights of the Marina Bay Circuit, to another Singapore Grand Prix. It's a very long, very physical lap, this one, and really there's not much in the way of margin for error. So we have a bit of an endurance race for you tonight. It's a 3.1 mile lap here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit with 47% taken at full throttle. It's hot, humid and bumpy around the 13 lefts and the 10 rights of mostly slow corners. But we should see speeds of up to 200 miles per hour along the Raffles Boulevard. Anthony Davidson is alongside me in the commentary box this evening, and big race this one, a real test of endurance. Sounds right up your alley. Wouldn't you just love to be down there on the grid right now?
You know what, Crofty? I'm pretty happy to be up here in my air conditioning, thank you, right now. I can't stress just how difficult these conditions can be, especially when you consider it's the longest race on the calendar in terms of time. It's also one of those races where you have to remember to keep drinking, or there's a real risk of dehydration, just like we saw with young Kevin Magnussen a couple of years ago, don't forget. We mentioned the bumps as well. Take a look at the onboards if you get a chance during this race. The movement in the suspension and the chassis is just incredible, and it's lots of hard work to wrestle the car around the lap here.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Bottas, Max Verstappen and Butler, Weber, Hülkenberg, Kvyat and Kimi Raikkonen, Grosjean, Perez, Daniel Ricciardo and Norris. They've taken a grid penalty. Stroll and a Haas, George Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi, Albon and Robert Kubica takes the last spot on the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
As we sit here on the grid, and P16 way back, we have a Williams behind us, and the lights were on for a while, but they are out now, and we are right behind Norris here, as we're going to look to the inside, and he's going to move, and we're going to have to take avoiding action twice, and we actually have to take avoiding action again by getting on the curb, and as we are side by side with Grosjean, our teammate, as he's just going to force us out, which is going to put us in a bad spot here as we understeer on the long right-hander there, as now we are drag racing. It looks to be Ricciardo there, as we're going to try to outbrake him as we initially do, but then he comes around the outside there, as we did not want to run into him. As we go down the inside of Ricciardo into this right-hander, and then he's going to stick his nose in really deep, and then they stop where they dive bomb there, as we're going to outrace him to the corner and keep the position. As we move on to lap 3 here, as we're still behind Perez and we're still stuck in 14th as we're coming across the bridge here. We're gonna Massa it and dive bomb both of them. We actually just meant to do Perez, but we'll take Grosjean, and Grosjean, of course, turned in on us, which isn't a shock as he's coming around the outside. But we're gonna brake super late. We're gonna have to shut down the first, barely missed that wall. As we move on to lap 5, as Norris has gotten ahead of Kvyat, as we go down here across the bridge again, and we're going to do the exact same move on him as we did on lap 3, and he's going to turn on us as well. Again, the AI have no recognition when you're there, and they'll just turn in on you. As at the end of the lap, we are heading to the pits. Make sure not the speed as we lock up, and Valtteri is out of the race, as you see him here on the front stretch. Right behind, I think that's Butler there. As you see, he just lost power going down the front stretch. No real blow up, so it's mechanical probably. As we make our pit stop here, as we have Kvyat behind us, as we pull in, try to be a good pit stop. And we got slightly held there by Russell, which means Kvyat's going to be literally right behind us as we leave the pits in 18th position. As we go on to the end of the lap here, as everybody's making their pit stops, as we pass everybody and gain a bunch of positions here, as Norris has come out right ahead of us as we kind of cut the corner a little bit, trying to catch up to him, as he's literally right in front of us, so we have not been able to get the undercut on Norris, but we will be literally right behind him coming down the back straight here. As we get DRS, and with our Ferrari engine, we have the best engine on the grid. Our chassis isn't very good, so, but we were able to dive it down the inside. We both lock up, and he kind of turned it on me anyways, even though I was there for the longest time. As we come to the next lap, as Stroll has made his pit stop, as we are now on the points. As we come into lap 9, we go deep into the last corner, which will allow Norris to get a good run on us. As we go to defend, and perfectly timed our defense as he kind of ran into the back of us, as we got ahead of Hulkenberg there, and Raikkonen's right down the road ahead of us. As we, at first, we have to deal with Norris here, who has been a pain in our side for the last couple laps. We go instantly to the right, try to break his slipstream, as he gets right onto us at that curve, and he kind of just runs into us, can't really get around us there. As we cut to lap 10 here, as we went a little bit deep in there, and he's still just right on our tail, as he kind of just runs in the back of us again. And literally, if they catch you at that curve, they literally aren't programmed to go around you. They'll just sit there. As this time he's a little bit farther away, so he won't catch us instantly, which means we won't be able to basically trap him at this corner, which means we'll actually have to fight him, and we go defensive. He actually goes a little bit deeper in the corner than we do, as we get the drive off and we're able to keep the position and barely miss the wall. As we come to the final lap, and Lewis Hamilton has won the Singapore Grand Prix. As we cut to the very end of the lap here, as Norris has been on us the whole entire time, and we finished a solid 8th place as we barely ran out of fuel at the end.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions, and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes. Let's have a quick look at how the driver standings have changed. It wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Today, I think I'll give it to the Haas driver. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari continued to extend the gap at the top of the table. Another team that will be satisfied with this Grand Prix is Alfa Romeo, whose good result moves them further up the championship. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.